Good evening. This is the Town of Carver Planning Board meeting of November 5th, 2013 at 7 o'clock. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Under new business tonight, we have a sign permit. Brandon Vincent, Carver Power Equipment, 49 Main Street.
Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, Mr. Vincent didn't realize he needed to come to the planning board for his sign. This is located right next to Emerald Landscaping. They're coexisting in the same building, which we permitted a long time ago. He immediately came here and filled out the application, paid the fee, and is here to tell you anything you'd like to know.
I
Go ahead.
apologize. I did not know that I was supposed to come down and fill it out. As soon as the landlord told me that I had to be here, we were here within a half hour and took care of the appropriate paperwork. Got the pictures and everything over to Mr. Hunter.
So this is where the sign is going to be.
Already is.
It already is, yeah.
Already is. Sorry.
That's true. Now exists.
Located right
Yeah.
underneath Emerald's sign.
Yeah.
We're located in unit number 2, which is the middle bay.
All right.
You didn't have to worry about location, size, or anything. It's there.
They
And
had
it's
it all
the-
figured out for me.
So it's the correct size?
Yep.
Yeah, it's so. I thought it looked good, yeah, a week ago when I went by it.
Better flag when you go.
Does anybody have any comments?
I have a question. The sign is a nice looking sign.
Thank you.
What do they have for lighting out there? Is it gooseneck?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing at all?
No, they were permitted for
Goose-
lighting.
Yeah.
Landscape or gooseneck, but they chose not to.
I know it is pre-wired for landscape lighting.
Oh,
There is a post in the ground for it to shine up from underneath. I don't know if Brian's gonna go forward with that or not. But I know it is pre-wired for it.
That's the only question I have.
While you're here, I don't know if you want to tell us a little bit about your business and your hours, what you do?
It's a small engine repair shop. Right now, we're open 7 days a week, from 8 in the morning till 8 at night. We service all makes and models of tractors, chainsaws, snow blowers, generators, any small engine piece of equipment that you have. The sales will be starting in about 2 weeks. I'll get my first shipment in of new snow blowers. Right now, it's just service, and the rentals will be coming soon after that.
Brendan, could you explain to them, I asked him his relationship with Norfolk Power, which is going right next door. You want to explain that a little?
I think it's gonna be great for me. I'll be the little guy feeding off the big fish, so to speak. They do a lot of the big work, and as far as comparable rates, mine are a lot different, a lot lower, and much more comforting for the people of Carver. But a lot of people aren't satisfied there, so hopefully we'll be doing very good and feeding off of them. We drive a lot of business that way, and I'm very happy with it.
Brendan, you're the owner?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I didn't know if you want to say that. I don't know. I know that Bruce said your name, but maybe you want to say your name for the people
Brandon
at home.
Vicente.
Set you up.
It's
I
okay.
mispronounced it.
Not a problem.
I did too.
It happens.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the sign for Carver Power Equipment.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
He's gonna need a building permit.
Oh,
I know you already put it up. Did you get a building permit? Probably not.
I don't know, he told me it was a $50 check that I had to bring, and we brought it that day. I don't
That
know
was
what that
for
was
me.
for.
I don't know if you're gonna need one.
Well, if he wants one,
If
it's
you
at
need
least
one,
it's on here.
we'll take care of it for you.
Welcome to Carver.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Anytime after 9 o'clock, why don't you or someone come and pick this up, and we'll have a discussion with the building commissioner about whether you need one. I don't think you do, but
Okay.
just to cover
I
it.
think Brian was saying it falls under his
It might, and that's a very good point, because it's the structure. That's a very good point. But let's make sure.
Okay,
All right.
very good.
Good luck.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you brought a lot of people.
Not on this board.
Thanks.
All right, second under new business tonight is a receipt of plans, 80 Makepeace Reed Custom Soils, Federal Road.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted them to come in. This is 80 Makepeace, if you may recall, back in the spring, and maybe even earlier than that, you worked with Makepeace with the zone change on Federal Street for Reed Custom Soil. I think everybody in town, obviously town meeting thought it was a great idea. They're trying to phase this in, for the lack of a better word, so that they can eventually, hopefully this spring, start the full construction. And I think it's best that Bill and George explain what they're trying to do, and then I'm gonna need some direction from you as to where you think they fit in the whole process. Eventually, it has to be site plan review, full notification, there's no question in my mind, but they're gonna be asking you for maybe a little bit different avenue. How's that?
Sounds like a good start. I'm Bill Madden from GAF Engineering. We're preparing the plans for Reed Custom Soils. George Rogers is also with me. He's from 80 Makepeace and runs the custom soil division of the property. You might recall earlier this year at town meeting, there was a rezoning effort put forth for about 300 acres off of Federal Road, right next to the ocean spray plant. At that time, I think that the company came forward and said that the ultimate goal was to construct a soil blending facility for the various types of aggregate and sand and different types of materials that are blended together on this site. When we first started the project, the company was currently operating in Canton. They had a facility up there that unfortunately, I think there's a lease issue going on there where they will no longer be there after the first of the year. So we got ourselves into a little bit of predicament with timing and selection of the technology and the material handling equipment that we're going to try to select for the soil blending facility. So in the interim, what we were trying to do is establish a very basic mixing pad blending area on the site of the original gravel removal area. And the plans that we submitted to the planning board kind of indicate where we are. This is on that 300-acre piece of property, 200 of which is Makepeace land. The other 100 is the ocean spray site. And there's an area in the bottom of the pit that we thought might be appropriate for the location of an interim mixing area, just because we really need a hard surface to mix the materials on. We could just do it in the bottom of the pit, but it really, you could intermingle the soil that's on the base of the pit with whatever materials that we're planning to mix together. So I guess what we were trying to do is just try to figure a way to get us in there until we can design the plant, which is gonna be located up in this particular area. It's a new facility. It'll have an entrance road off of Federal Road, couple of scales. I think that we'll have at least a facility where the trucks can receive the tear weights, the weights on the material coming in, the weights on the material coming out, and what have you. So what we were trying to do is just get an interim pad put together so that we could just dump the material on the pad, blend it together with like front-end loaders, for the lack of something better to call them, and then either load the material directly to a truck to be hauled off-site, or to store some of it in what we call as bins. They're typical, very similar to the landscape bins that are blocked up with the 4x4, 2x2x4 foot cement concrete blocks. But in this case, we're going to put a temporary vinyl clad enclosure over the top of it, like a hoop building, We did speak to the building inspector about that, because we thought that its temporary nature may not require a building permit to do to do that type of work. And he confirmed with us that it would not require a building permit to put those temporary structures in place. They don't require a foundation, they will have no electricity, they'll have no heat. Strictly just a cover to keep certain materials dry. So that's what we're before you tonight. We just don't really know how to proceed. We didn't think it was, does it fit squarely into a site plan review issue? We didn't necessarily think so. We thought the best approach would be to come before you. We know we're gonna be in a little bit of a time issue with the construction of those pads. They're asphalt pads. The asphalt plants will close end of November, 1st of December. Weather permitting, it could extend a little further than that. The company would like to try to at least get those pads placed down there so they have a clean surface over which to work. So that's really the thumbnail sketch of what we're trying to do here. We detailed it a little bit on the drawings, and I think part of the reason why we detailed it to the degree that we did on the plans is that we have to go out and solicit proposals from contractors to actually build these. So the pads that we're looking at are roughly 150 feet square, and we're showing two 36 by 72 foot long storage bins on the ends of each one of those pads. And those are the bins, we're calling them storage bins because that's pretty much what that's the function that they'll serve. They're gonna be constructed on top of the 8-foot tall cement concrete blocks, and then the framework of the structure would go on top of those blocks. No foundation to speak of. And the reason why we needed the blocks going up 8 feet is so that when they push the material into the back of it, there's some resistance to keep the blocks from toppling over and knocking down the building. So we kind of designed these to fit into the slope that exists there, so that the material of the slope will keep the blocks in place. So there's 5 of those little structures shown there, and then there's that 150 by 150 foot pad for each one of those areas. We thought that we needed to make them 150 in width, because the mixing is actually going to take place in the center, and they need to keep clear travel lines to go to the bins. So that's why we're at 150. We started off in the order of magnitude of 200 by 200, and then tried to wean it down to something a little bit more manageable from a construction and a cost point of view. Everything that we have designed here, the slope of the pad runs from the slope of the hill back to the front. There's a stone infiltration trench, and then just the bottom of the pit area itself is just carved out another 6 inches. It's a very subtle landscape feature on the bottom of the pit, so that any surface water runoff that would come from that pad, it would be retained right in the area where it is currently developed or generated from. We had a catch basin and leaching pits in between each one to pick up the drainage from the back of the hill and pipe them off into infiltration swales. We did talk to Sean Martin about this, just with our concept on drainage, and where we're infiltrating 100% of it on the site, and we'll have no runoff whatsoever. He thought we were in pretty good shape. At least our thought process was supported by his, and I think that we sent him the drainage calculation showing that everything that we develop here will be retained within that existing pit area. So that's really what it is. It's an asphalt pad to mix soil on, and the bins to store either finished product or the product that we're mixing. For example, if we had clay that needed to be mixed with some sand, the clay needs to be kept dry. So clay, for example, could be stored in this bin, taken out, put on the pad blended with some sand that would come from another location, and perhaps finished product stored in the bin immediately adjacent to it for future use. So, there's really no structure, there's no utilities, and we're just in a position to come before you folks and try to figure out how we can work through the process so some of this can get constructed prior to the, the wintertime season.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Yeah.
Well,
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Jack. We haven't had site plan review on this project yet. The zoning was just done last year.
Correct.
I guess it's a twofold. Are we putting the cart before the horse on this?
Well,
And the other, and maybe this will help answer my question, is this part of your future development?
I would
And what,
say-
in a nutshell, what happens if you don't get approved on site plan review? You've already built this, you're already operating the business out of there. Just, I mean, it's 100% risk on your part, but I just per se, that for some reason, unbeknownst to all of us, it didn't seem at town meeting that the citizens were against this type of concept. I mean, we were pretty clear on what your intent was, but
I can answer some of that. One of the reasons I wanted them to come in is because it is a little bit of that. But what not puzzled me, but struck my curiosity is they don't need a building permit. And that's usually a big trigger, and there's no building permit.
is it because it's temporary?
I can't answer that.
That's what
The building
Right.
commissioner,
Yeah, we had a meeting with him after we had an initial meeting with Jack, and he didn't, in his mind, he didn't think a building permit was gonna be required. We didn't need a permanent foundation. There's no utilities required for each one of the buildings, and they're no different than a boat storage building, a motor home storage building might see in anybody's yard.
so let's ask this question then.
Can I just answer your
Yeah.
second question? I want to remind you that you cannot deny site plan review.
Mhm.
Okay, so just,
I got that in, but
all right.
what's the intent of the company on coming before the board on site plan review with your conceptual drawings and where the buildings are going? Is this gonna be a structure that'll probably stay?
It could, I mean, we're in the process of really trying to select the material. I mean, the materials that they make are so wide and varied that, not everything gets done on a mixing pad. For example, if we're mixing different types of sand together in a particular gradation, we're kind of going through the process of saying, well, this is very similar to what you might see in a concrete plant or an asphalt plant, in that the aggregates are weighed out and blended together before they're mixed with any bituminous or cement. So we're not planning to make an asphalt plant or a concrete plant, but we think that perhaps some of that technology that we use for just the blending of the aggregates themselves is something that we're gonna need to do for their soil blending facility. I mean, one of the things is that we're trying to really be efficient in the future with how it all gets done. So what our thoughts were is that all the equipment and things of that nature are gonna would be located up in this area. So we'd have an entrance, a landscaped entrance coming in off of Federal Road, a main entrance into Reed Custom Soils, and then the scales that would weigh the trucks coming in, the scales that would weigh the trucks coming out, the office that's required to house the people that work in that division would be constructed over there. And then the equipment that we ultimately select, whether they're screeners, conveyors, V-hopper bins, bulk storage areas, those are all gonna be located up in here. So, if the materials or the equipment that's selected can do all the work that we're proposing to do essentially manually now, then the mixing pad would disappear in the future. If it's more efficient to keep that pad in its current location, then it would remain.
Well, I'd like to see you not have to waste any money. And I hate to delay what conceptually we were anticipating for a business down there, because I think it's a great fit. Are you under time restraints
Yes.
just from the asphalt or from the processing end of it itself?
Or from the other.
No, from Canton.
Yeah, you can't,
Ooh, didn't think of that idea.
yeah.
That's why we're here.
And that's, Canton was a leased property.
Mhm.
We didn't really have a lease issue except for the landlord sold it, and we knew it was gonna be sold at some point, and it got expedited a little more than what we expected. So we're basically out of there the end of the year, and, we're trying to figure out exactly what to put in where. As you recall, we originally were gonna come in through the Bog Road, now we're looking at line of sight. We're trying to do this once, do it right, and unfortunately, that takes a lot of time, and all of a sudden, I realized about a month ago, I have a problem, because I need to be up and running in the spring, and the asphalt plants are closed, so I've gotta do something, and we don't know exactly what and exactly where we wanna do it yet. So this was a temporary solution proposed that, maybe we could put the pads down. The pads are hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think they'll be there for a long time, regardless of where the building goes. So that's what we're looking to do. If this doesn't fly, then I gotta look somewhere else, because I gotta be somewhere in March. And I can't depend on winter weather that the asphalt plants are gonna be open, and I can't depend on that March 15th, they're gonna pave an area for me. So that's, I'm up against time.
I guess
That's the
I
issue.
guess for clarification, what is our role in this? They could do this and put this in, and knowing at 100% risk of the company that, say that something didn't get approved, or we had a problem with the site plan review, or what have you, there was something that just made it not right. Me personally, I definitely don't wanna see, as in your words, go somewhere else. We want you here.
And I wanna be
And
here,
that was,
believe me.
that was our whole thing on rezoning, and think it's a
Yep.
great fix and a great fit. So Jack, what do you think our role is
I knew you'd ask me that, and I'm getting some clarity just talking about this. I do have one more question, if I may, through the chair.
Okay.
George, I think Will has hit it, and I've been asking this of Bill. What are your plans? Say they approve this, and I have some ideas about that. When are you gonna be coming back in? When are you gonna, I think.
For the full facility,
Yes. You gotta be realistic about this. We can't let this just run the way it is when we've made certain promises,
Right.
if you will, to the community.
I would say that we could have this, we'll have decisions made within 6 months of exactly what we wanna do, and then it's a matter of drawing the plans and getting them submitted. So I would say, at the latest by like June or July, and hopefully before that.
So couldn't we condition it in under a year?
Well,
You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
really not a
here's
condition,
my
but
thought, is, and I'm thinking out loud a little, no abutters there, there's no building permit, there's no utilities at all. I think I would like to pass these plans by the fire chief and and Sean Martin, have you table this till next meeting, and then hopefully, if we get positive feedback from them, you waive site plan review based on certain conditions.
on this part of it,
Yes.
not on full site.
Oh, no, we'll be very specific in that decision about that, and maybe give them a year or 9 months or whatever. You have to understand, this has nothing to do with Makepeace at all. Trust me on that. The audience out there. They've been burned before. Before any of these guys were on the board, even Will, he's the longest member, by waiving site plan review.
No, I was on at that time.
He was on. What a line.
Yeah, there's no intent to
and-
waive that for the whole project, I mean,
And I'm just telling you,
Yep.
that resonates, and that ended up in court, cost the town money, it's gone now, has nothing to do with Makefield, nothing. It's apples and oranges, it's zebras and elephants, but I know that's, I think where Will's coming from. So that's an avenue, I thought. I can understand their predicament, and there was no way we could do full site plan review and get them done. It was impossible.
Not in time.
And you got nothing to go by, and they're gonna be back in anyway. And when the building commissioner said no building permit, it really struck me that this might be a unique circumstance.
Through you, Mr. Chair, what percentage of truck traffic are you expecting on this small mixing startup per se? Are you expecting a lot of truck traffic? I know at our
Trying to
initial
think what was in
conversations, there wasn't that
Well,
much, but.
the stuff from Canton would be coming there. Yeah, I mean, there's another site that we're leasing in Westford, that takes some of it. Some of it will be north of Boston and some will be down here. I don't remember what the number was originally we talked about.
You know what I'm saying, just in the interim, before you apply for.
What percentage? I mean, that was not an issue, the truck traffic, but.
Yeah, it wasn't, but I'm just wondering, you know, the closing the Canton facility, you're trying to move this along and get ready for spring. So where we're trying to help expedite that, what part of that traffic are we gonna see? I know that the harvest is pretty much done,
Not according to George.
really?
No, we're still picking, but I would
It's
say
too
that we would
cold.
get 50 to 75% of what we had in Canton probably would end up down
If
here.
you did the strategy of tabling it till the 19th, and they could get you that number.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yes.
You could have your traffic engine there, do that,
Yeah, that does create a problem for me with asphalt though.
for the 19th. George, Bill, you told me that was all right.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, if they wanna be at risk to some degree, site preparation could take place before any hard surface was put in place. I mean, if we had to level.
There's no bylaw for that.
No, it's
You
almost,
can go and do anything you want there.
Yeah, so I mean, we're thinking that we can get things in the 2-week time frame between now and then. I mean, to get out there, for us to stake out the area, for the company to get in there, move things that are out of the way, to get it prepped, to get gravel base put in place the way we're talking about. It is, 7 to 10 days worth of work. And, really to have everything ready for a paving operation to begin on, say, the 20th or the 19th, 20th, and have the thing wrapped up by the end of November. It's to me,
close.
it's a very, very tight time frame, but, it still takes time to do the work.
I'm not gonna speak for my other board members, but I can tell you that I'm sitting here willing to help you get to that end goal of full site plan review in spring, but I don't wanna hesitate you missing the window. We've gone this road a couple times with some other people, knowing that the window of asphalt plants and stuff like that shut down, and we've made accommodations for that prior to, so I don't have a problem with that. I don't know how you guys feel.
No, tentatively, plants usually close on the 16th of November,
Really?
depending on weather.
Last year, they went into December.
It all depends on the weather.
Right.
Well, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, if you're comfortable with what you heard, then you could just waive site plan review. And condition it, that full site plan review will be applied for within 9 months?
Definitely.
Something to that effect? Whatever you guys want. I was not making this decision.
And you're gonna run it by the fire department, to the chief?
Well, I think that's the problem we have here, is that the 19th may get them too late for the asphalt
For them to come before the board,
on the 19th.
for us to talk to them again.
They can do all the site work tomorrow. There's no bylaw for site work.
So you're looking for an answer tonight, then?
Will's thinking of something.
I am.
Not sure what it is, though.
Now,
Me
did they have to come before us at all tonight? I mean, just to put 2 pads in on the site?
I didn't know the answer, Bruce. That's why I'm here. It was an odd one. If the building commissioner said they needed a building permit, then that would have
So that's what we're questioning tonight, whether this was even necessary.
Is there, through you, Mr. Chair, is there any public going to be at these two pads?
Public?
Public?
No.
No, just trucks. Like, it's
You're
not
talking like
retail
for
coming in?
public sales.
Retail,
No.
retail sales, anywhere that it'd be a public safety issue for, I'm sure if we looked and we gave these plans to our public safety officials and they commented, I'm sure that Makepeace would abide by what they wanted in the interim.
Condition it. You could condition it that any, amendment or comments or concerns will be addressed in a revised plan by the 19th. Trying to find a way here.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time in my head trying to figure out why we even have to take a vote.
Then you can say.
know what I
that
mean?
Site plan review is
It-
not
I mean-
appropriate. Have a nice day.
In this initial phase, I'm trying to latch on to something through 9.5 years of sitting on the board, or where we could grab onto and say, okay, we need to vote on what their intent is. It's almost like they're advising us what their intentions are, knowing that they're coming for site plan review. They're expediting at 100% risk of the company. And like Jack says, we don't deny, you know,
You don't have the right to deny that.
right to deny. I mean, we're gonna be looking at all the safety conditions, we're gonna look at, traffic during full site plan review. And we're trying to help a business out. I don't have a problem with saying, hurry up and do it,
Yeah,
myself.
it wasn't clear to us either really if there was any jurisdiction, but felt that, I wanted to come here so that you wouldn't think we were trying to pull something without coming to you. This is why we're doing what we want to do, and we want, to notify you so that we get it zoned and we're down there doing something.
Yeah.
And somebody who make pieces down there paving what's going on, at least you know what we're doing. That was the main reason for coming, and if there was some jurisdiction, what was it and what did we have to do exactly? Because I couldn't latch onto it, and I don't think Bill could either.
The only concern that I have is the fire department.
That's right, yeah.
That's the only concern that I have in the interim, because of the height of the product and the structure, if they have any comments or anything,
So,
you know what I mean?
I
Help
hear,
me.
you. So I'm gonna
Can't
suggest,
you bring this to the fire department and get something back maybe tomorrow, the next day?
I know, but you don't meet, and so I'm gonna suggest that you vote to waive site plan review for this temporary
These two pads.
facility.
Yeah.
And that, any comments or amendments, mandated by the fire department or other public safety officials, or the town engineer, will be, done and submitted by November 19th.
That works for me. I don't know about you guys, but
It's okay.
I'll distribute them tomorrow to the public safety officials. Sean already has it. I haven't talked, Sean told me, he said, is it okay on this one? I said, yeah, but wait until the 5th, because I don't know what we're doing.
so you wanna vote?
I think you have to, if you
All
want public safety to at least comment.
I'll make a motion that we waive the site plan review on these two pads only, and that any comments from the public safety officials, fire chief, EMS, police department, and our town engineers or town officials, come back to us at our next meeting and approved by them.
And the 5 structures.
In the 5 structures, thank you. That's my motion.
Second.
You have a motion and a second? Is there,
Comment?
any comments?
And none of the material is being moved in this time though, right? You're just getting ready for it. You're not moving anything from Canton over at this time, from now till the 19th, or this is what you're looking forward to do?
I'm looking to pave hopefully prior to the 19th.
It's still 100% at their risk,
Right.
you know? They just have to accommodate what the building
Right.
or public safety officials or departments said.
So if they paved and for whatever reason, one of the public officials said that this isn't a good thing, then this wouldn't be able to be used?
Well, we'd be able to negotiate with
It,
the company, I would
it's an
assume.
allowed use, you can't
yeah.
deny it, but you, by your vote, if you vote for this, they're gonna be mandated to revise to accommodate public safety, or whatever
Okay.
their comments are.
And I think
Bring it back to you.
the big part too is that we're gonna have a full site plan review on the whole plant and process and plan,
That will be a public hearing, the whole
Yeah.
bit.
you know? We're gonna have that anyways, so I think that's well worth it. Well, to move forward, in my opinion, to start the business before they decide to go somewhere else, and we don't want them to go anywhere else. This is why we did zoning, the zoning change, and the citizens spoke loud at town meeting, they didn't have a problem with it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you guys for bringing this forward to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back.
Good job. That was, you can appreciate the difficulty I had with that.
I'd say that's it for us.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, I thought it chipped it. Scary.
It is. Good point.
All right, under old business tonight, at 7:15, it's past that now. We have a public hearing for crop production services, special permit site plan review for warehouse retail space. This is a continuation.
Right, Kevin can't vote on this, but you need 4, and Mike wanted to come at the last meeting, but we didn't have a quorum, for this. So Mike is here to enlighten us all. I think it's good news that you're here. I knew I sent you some emails regarding this, but, I'm glad Mike got an opportunity to come and talk to you.
I don't know exactly how good a news it's gonna be.
Oh,
I received some bad news today.
Oh, great. You're going back.
We're not going anywhere.
Oh, all right.
We just have slowed the pace down again a little bit. I have brought up 3 or 4 items here that I was asked to bring, that we would need when we came for the site plan review. And a couple of them are there. My fence, cut sheets, if you will, to go around the dumpsters in that area where we're gonna store dumpsters and pallets. I have a list of items and a letter to the board, explaining what the items that would be that we may wanna store outside at different times of the year and where they would be stored, so there's that list there. I have the old site plan that we brought in 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago now, I don't think I need to open that up. This is a picture of the sign that we'd like to use. That's probably 6 inches square, bigger than what would be allowed, so we would reduce the size, and I would like to have the address on the bottom. But that's a picture of the sign that we'd like to use when we get a chance to get that far along. The biggest issue that I have tonight is the fact that we do have a budget on this project. And what blows the budget out of the water is the sprinkler system, of which I'm not asking for a waiver on the sprinkler system. If I have to do it, what I had told my company was that we would go back to the drawing board, we would do a full build-out on the size of the building that we had proposed, and what we would do then is put a sprinkler system in, and I'd cut down the size of the building by 10 feet in length, every 10 feet, until we could afford the building. Well, the building is all of a sudden gone from what I really and truly thought would be $1.2 to $1.4 million to well over $2 million. Because the sprinkler system, and this is priced out by 3 different companies, this is the one that my GC that I am most likely gonna use to build the building gave me this today. Just got it done and just got it back today. And as you can see, the price on that sprinkler system,
Did he mess up on the decimal points?
no.
Oh.
Sure seems like he did. But we're gonna need to store 160,000 gallons of water. So that $576,680 does not include the 160,000 gallons of storage tank capacity. Doesn't include the excavation, the backfill, any electrical, alarm wiring, and the water in the tank. So we're looking at another $200,000 on top of that 576, which puts quite a burden on my little business over there. Right now at 3 Plymouth Street. Hopefully someday it'll be Marion Drive. So as of this afternoon, I had this to choke down before I went home for dinner. And I don't know where we're gonna go. My superiors are away. Couldn't get a hold of them this afternoon. They're away at meetings in North Carolina. I do have people that I have to answer to. I will get with them tomorrow and we'll see where this leads, but puts us up at a $2.5 million building. And this little business just can't generate that. So what I think is gonna have to happen is we're gonna have to go to the size of building that we can fit on that lot and not have to put a sprinkler system in, which is a backwards way to go about doing it. Cause I'm gonna put the same material in that building as I put in this, in a bigger building, and I'm not gonna have a sprinkler system. But by law, I can do that, as far as I know, and I don't wanna, I'm not trying to back in from the back door. But by law, if I build a 7,488 square foot building and then separate my 1,800 foot office from that by 40 feet, I can put whatever I want in those buildings.
That's correct.
It's not right. I can put, like I say, I'm not trying to back in, but I can put worse material and more of it in that smaller building and not sprinkle it. So I was trying to do the right thing by doing the full build out, build it with a sprinkler system, do it just the way everybody wanted it, and then cut back from there until I could afford it. It's just not gonna happen. So I'm not giving up. I hate to take up your time. I use Jack a lot, used his time, emails back and forth. Deputy Fire Chief, and Lord knows my GC and myself have put hours and hours in on this thing, and we're not giving up. I need to move, I have to move. 7 days from now, I'll own that piece of property, whether I'm able to use it or not. But that's not gonna stop me. I'm gonna buy that property and we're gonna put a building there. I don't know if anybody's got any questions. I'd try to answer them if I could.
Chair, Mike, through the chair, other than the foam system, and I know why you have to have foam, you know, if you subtract that, that's $500,000. And it baffles me that Norfolk Power could build a sprinkler system for $80,000.
They did not. That cost them over $230.
It did. And then why are you twice as much?
Because of the volume of material we're storing in the building.
Oh, it's not the
It's
size of the building.
density and volume.
It's the density and the volume, not
And
the
that's the
size,
reason,
not the
yeah.
square footage.
That's right. And it wouldn't matter if it was a, you know, a
Well, you would-
25,000 square foot building, if I still wanna stack my fertilizer 3 high like every other fertilizer facility in the country does, it's volume per square foot.
Volume, it's not.
Yeah.
And so, Norfolk Power has a much bigger building, but less volume.
A few boxes of nuts and bolts and you know, I mean, they're gonna have a lot more of that, but less volume. It was well over 230,000 by the time they got done.
Yeah.
I was shocked by this, I really was. I thought we were gonna come in for, you know, 350, 400,000 tops, and I knew we were gonna have to have 100,000 gallons, but when he ever came back with 160,000 gallons, that means I'm gonna have to have 4 40,000 gallon tanks, and then have them plumbed together into a cistern, and then the diesel generator, diesel booster pump, everything will draw out of that cistern and then into the sprinkler system. We're gonna have to have in-rack storage, in-rack sprinklers, so in other words, I'm gonna have to have a row of sprinklers on the top of underneath the rafters, and then another row in between, yeah, so that adds 57,000 right there.
And then the size.
Yep.
The cistern at Norfolk Power is only like 40,000, maybe less, 30,000, not 160.
I was shocked. Spoiled my dinner.
Spoiling mine.
I don't necessarily think that there's anything anybody can do at this point. We have to put in a sprinkler system if we're gonna build anything over 7,500 square foot. We have to put in a sprinkler system. I had gone away from the smaller warehouse with the separate office because I didn't wanna have to have myself, go back and forth between the office and the warehouse 150 times a day all summer long to go get the guy a bag of fertilizer. I told my company that that was unacceptable, and they agreed, and that's when they said, okay, go ahead and do your build-out, do whatever you gotta do, and we'll suffer the consequences. But that was before, the price of the sprinkler system tripled. So that's where we are.
So even if you had a building and you had your office space and you had a canopy between the walkway and a canopy between the buildings,
That would be better, that would help, that would give me a couple of other options as well. I could park my trucks under there, and at least right now, CPS does not park the vehicles in the building, it's just another fire hazard. But I could put them underneath the roof, to keep them out of the weather to a certain extent. But the deputy fire chief said, no, if you can't join the two buildings. You have to have for the size building, the bigger building is gonna be about 40 feet to the peak. It's actually going to be about 36 feet to the peak, and then they want a certain percentage, which must be 10% over that, in case the end of the wall fell down. They don't want that end of the wall that's on fire falling on the office. So no, I can't have
so your office would have to be at least 40 feet away.
that's right.
I'm gonna, we can work this out at the staff level, but when Norfolk Power had to deal with this, they too were gonna go with two separate buildings with a canopy, and it wasn't the current building commissioner, it was the interim one. And they were gonna have, and I'm using my terms here, not theirs, but some kind of collapsible breezeway that connected the two buildings. And that was acceptable to both the fire department and the building department. So I wouldn't give up hope
Yeah, I'm not done, I just apologize for,
on the
Taking up everybody's time.
canopy slash
What we're here for.
breezeway, some way to protect them from some of the elements, going back and forth. But the 7,500 is the law, and
Yep.
there's not much this board
Can't
can
get
do
around that,
zero
yeah.
about that.
How big is your facility that you now have?
well, it's just under 6,000 square feet. 1/3 of that, I only have about half or 2/3 of the height that I have in the other building, so it's 6,000 square feet, but I don't have the height.
And you don't have sprinkler systems in that, though, because it's an older building.
No,
Yeah.
right.
So, we got some materials, once Mike and corporate, and hopefully, the fire department work out breezeways or whatever, we'll get revised plans, we'll make sure all the department heads get their final comments to you, and hopefully, this can get past you. I mean, you're just sitting and waiting, really, but we did get some more materials today.
There's your
Yeah. Oh, we got
elevations.
schematics, but that may change now.
Well, it may, yes, I mean, it would be basically cut in half, that south elevation would be cut in half, that would be the office end, of course. We'd bring the loading dock up,
Any
and
idea?
I hate to do that, 'cause it spoils that lot.
I'm not arguing with you, Mike. We've been around this
Yeah.
many. I've had more meetings on this than just about anything. Any idea when you're gonna make a final design decision?
I would not say that we'll have a final in 2 weeks, it'll be a month. But I'd like to, we're gonna keep plugging away at it and see what we can come up with, and see what corporate will do. But, I
Mike
just,
really wanted to come and talk to you guys and not.
No, we appreciate that.
He's trying.
I need the building, and I like that location, and just gotta make it happen somehow,
And you're closing on the 12th,
13th,
13th?
unless they change it to the 12th. and I haven't heard it, but,
I might have made that up. It's,
so, that's all I have. Nobody else has any questions?
any other questions?
I don't.
I appreciate your time very
You have
much.
to ask the public if they have any comments, it's a
Oh,
public.
that's, it is, yeah, it's the continuance, and we're gonna continue this
Yep.
further. Is there anybody here tonight that would like to ask a question, or have any comments? Seeing no one.
I guess you're gonna ask for a continuation till December 3rd at 7:15?
Is that good for you, Mike,
It's
anyways?
fine.
Make a motion to continue the public hearing for crop production services to December 3rd at 7:15.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Those in favor? Aye.
Thanks, Mike, appreciate all your
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for-
Good luck.
You're taking these, right?
I will unless you want.
No, not until we get closer. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Tough story.
All right. We have an appointment. Auntie Steph's Doggy Daycare Annual Review. And that was at 7:30, and it's 10 minutes of 8, so we can move on to that.
I will tell you what's in your packet, and then, chat. If you look, the first thing is the permit that was issued about a year ago, and condition 20 says this permit is valid for 1 year from the date of issuance, at which time the planning board shall conduct a meeting with the applicant at a regular scheduled planning board meeting, and all abutters shall be notified. At that time, a progress report shall be given by all parties, including the animal control officer. At that time, the planning board may take any action necessary to further mitigate the proposal, or may initiate proceedings to rescind the application. So, it's a year. You'll see in your packet a memo from Kathy Seeley, the animal control officer, who is here, regarding a list of 5 complaints and her findings, and some notes. You'll see the inspection report done by the animal control officer, and then the various dogs that are seen. We've never done this before, so I'm gonna suggest you take a look at this and read this. We just got this late this afternoon. And I do have copies of all those for the public, if they're here. Could you, before I screw that up? And I'll leave those here if anybody wants these. How to proceed? I would suggest taking a look at the animal control officer's actions, and if you want, I can read through them for the public. And then maybe hear from the owner, and then hear from the public. It's not technically a hearing, but obviously in your decision, you wanted to hear from abutters. And then I can talk about, it seems to me you got 3 action items that you could go to. You can say, okay, there's no need to mitigate. It's addressed in the decision that was done a year ago. There's need to have more conditions and more mitigation. That's the second option. And then the third is the actual, if you felt there's some serious violations here, we need to rescind it. If you pick option 3, it's absolute public hearing, and you have to have a full special permit hearing. If you pick to mitigate more, then I'm gonna say it's the measure of mitigation. If it's extreme mitigation, I think you're gonna have to have a public hearing. If it's not, you can probably do it within this action here. And then obviously, if you don't do anything, there's nothing. So.
All right,
And Kathy's here if you need her.
Mr. Chair,
yep, go ahead.
I guess we've had the business up and running for a year. And our decision was for them to come back if there's any concerns from the neighbors and stuff, so maybe we can, see if there's any concerns, listen to some of the concerns from what the neighbors are. I do wanna hear from the animal control officer, on her findings throughout the season, if there was anything that she had to take action on. And then I think we'll be able to make a decision what steps we go by. I think that'd be a good route to go.
Okay, I'd like to probably hear from the animal control officer first. If we-
Oh, I've been no, you're not getting off the hook. I know, you were mad at me about all this. If anyone's gonna speak, if they could just sign this, that's all. Maybe if you just went through your memo, Kathy. I'm gonna get a water. This would be a first.
Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. Kathy doesn't like these.
Well, you're on camera, so everybody
I
sees you.
know, I know. We did receive numerous complaints.
Excuse me, Kathy, can you just identify yourself for the?
Kathy Sealy, Animal Control Officer.
Thank you.
Numerous complaints for dogs barking. They were followed up on. Every time I don't know what the lady's name is again.
Doesn't matter.
She would leave a message. She was rude on a couple occasions, especially to my assistant. She records the phone call. I think adults can have a phone conversation without it being recorded. So I did get in touch with the selectman's office and tell them that I refuse to talk to her. She can go through the selectman's office. The complaints were followed up on. I found no dogs barking at the daycare. I did hear dogs barking on Pond Street, on Center Street, dogs walking on the bogs. The most recent one was there was a brown dog in her yard, which I did go to her house. I went out back with her. I didn't see a dog. I went over to Stephanie's and asked her. She did have a brown dog, but like I said, the lady didn't know what kind of dog it was. There's numerous brown dogs. I have not found anything wrong at the daycare. It's been clean. It doesn't smell like dog poop. When I knocked on the door, the only dog I heard barking was the dog upstairs in the kitchen. Not even the dog that was outside was barking. The gates were all locked. And Stephanie has always, answered the phone when I call her. She's answered the door when I go over there. I haven't found anything wrong.
And as far as, in some of our conditions, Stephanie, the daycare was supposed to provide you with
Licensing
licensing,
and
vaccination,
yes.
stuff like that, and
Yes.
that's all up to date?
Yes.
And the hours of operation, have you had complaints?
Well,
from
she did
anybody
complain
on
that
that?
somebody was there. I wasn't on, my assistant was on, so I
Yep.
can't really say for her. That somebody was visiting with a dog early in the morning or something. I don't see why people can't visit. I mean, if a family member or a friend comes over with a dog, I didn't know that shouldn't happen. I mean,
Okay,
that's out of my control.
It wasn't a condition. We didn't think about that. That didn't come up, yeah.
Yeah.
have you done any inspections, through you, Mr. Chair? Have you done any inspections
We've
of the
been over there
daycare itself?
twice. I've been over there twice, and my assistant's been over there once, and it's actually you should have it in your packet.
It's on the second
It's in
page.
Okay.
Tells you the condition of the,
Okay. I just wanted to, for the public at home,
oh,
to know what
Yeah.
we're what the animal control officer is doing follow-up throughout the year. It's more of a report to us of what you found, any of the complaints that you've responded to, what your results were and stuff like that. And it's important that the public knows where you stand. So I appreciate that. I don't really have any questions for the animal control officer, other than saying thank you for following up on those. I do appreciate
you.
that myself, but I don't know if you guys do or not.
Yeah, does anybody else have any? And all you had were these 5 complaints, that was it? Were
There
there
might have
more?
been more, but those are the ones that stood out.
And these were from the,
Mostly, there've been dog barking
and from the
complaints.
Dignans next door?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Just because you didn't state her name, so,
Sorry, I'm awful with names.
that's all right.
It's all right.
All right, anybody else have any
The
other
only question
questions?
that I had, and it's through you, Mr. Chair, to Jack,
Yeah.
clarification on, is the interim town administrator still the dog enforcement person for the selectmen? Because I know Rick used to be.
He hears, they hear appeals or something? What does he do?
Complaints.
Complaints?
Yeah, we do the dog complaints, vicious dog.
Yep.
It usually goes through him before it goes through the selectmen first.
That's like for a single.
Right. Have you had any of those issues
In
of
this situation?
vicious dogs or anything like that from the daycare?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
I just want, I
No,
didn't know
you're
if
right, they
with
gave
that,
him
with
that-
the interim, whether or not it was still with the town administrator or.
Yep.
what happened. Okay.
I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't go
Thank
away.
you.
I guess next would be any neighbors that would like to speak?
I'm Michelle Degnan, 69 Center Street.
Welcome.
Matthew Dignan, 69 Center Street.
And first, I'd like to start off with all due respect to the board and the animal control officer. Every statement she made to you was a lie.
Okay.
We called her more than 5 times. Jack can commit to that too, because I emailed him on multiple occasions to tell him that. I apologize if at any point I came off rude, but unfortunately, that's your job. You don't get to pick and choose who you have to deal with. If you're hired by the town, she
If you
needs
could
to
speak-
follow up with
If you
that.
could speak through us,
Sorry.
we're hearing if you have opinions of personal nature and take them up with her and the town administrator. We're
I
just
understand, but
trying to
she
find.
did indicate
That's
that
okay.
that it was
I
rude.
just want to make sure that we needed a report from the animal control officer. That's what we asked her for. Any personalities, I don't need to hear it. The town administrator's job.
Okay.
Thank you.
As far as her following up on any of the conditions, I find it hard to believe you ever followed up if you've never communicated with me. Not one time did the animal control officer ever reach out to us. So I don't know how someone can complain about something, but you never actually speak to me to validate that that's not a complaint, ever, not one time.
And we also actually had a meeting with the Selectman's office, with actually Dick Ward and with Jack Hunter, because the process of what we agreed upon of what the process was supposed to be was broken. And to this point, we still think it's broken.
And you had that meeting when?
I believe it was in July,
Was it?
I believe so.
Months ago. I was,
And at that point, I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt you, we were told not to file any more complaints. So there was a point of time where we were instructed not to file any because she was not responding to any of our statements.
Who told you not to respond?
The Selectman,
I'm gonna help with this a little bit.
Please.
I had reached out to a business development committee member who is friends with the Degmans and who I trust and know, to be kind of an intermediary, and I also reached out to Mr. Ward to also help. And the 4 or 5 of us met to try to go over a little bit of their concerns. What I heard the Degmans say is they didn't feel they were being listened to. And I couldn't think of anyone better than Mr. Ward or Mr. Steele to listen to them. And Mr. Ward just wanted to hear it out. I know he had a discussion with the town administrator about it, and I know he went to visit you, I believe, about it. So I was just trying to find an avenue. And I've had many conversations with the town administrator and with, a little bit with his assistant.
So what was the system that you thought was broken? I mean, how was, the Dignans would call in a complaint to the animal officer, and then you expected the animal officer to investigate and then give you a call back and,
Well, I guess, how do you
Give you an
investigate
answer?
something, yeah, if you've never actually talked to the person making the complaint? That doesn't, I'm not following the logic behind that.
so you would just like an answer one way or the other when you have a complaint to see if what you had complained about was from the doggy daycare center. or if
All
it
she's
was,
getting is a message just to indicate I've had a noise complaint. And based on what her comments or her statements to regard to that, she's stating that she would check that out. So, did you check it out immediately upon my phone call? Did you check that out? Did you touch base with me to find out how long they were barking? And as far as the phone calls being recorded, I recorded it so she could hear it during the session, so she could hear that I wasn't making these statements up. They were valid. As far as the dog that was out walking around that I called her office on, my office is in my kitchen. My kitchen window looks out onto their driveway. She never went to their home. So I think it's gonna be a he said,
So
she
we're-
said
yeah,
for
so
the
I mean,
rest of our
Some of
lives.
the complaints
Yeah.
that we've had, was during off hours, so again, it was, if it wasn't gonna be to the animal control, and then it was to the police department, when the police department told us to call the animal control office. So that's where kind of the process was broken, that we felt like our complaints had fallen on deaf ears.
And what was, Jack, what was the response from your meeting with Mr. Wood, Mr. Steele, yourself, and the Dignans?
Well, I just
What
wanted,
was the direction?
What I'm hearing, this is exactly what the Degman's, concerns were about getting a response from the animal control officer, and Mr. Ward, I believe, tried to alleviate that issue and maybe get a little more responsiveness.
Okay.
I'm just, we've never had this issue either before. The animal control officer is under the town administrator. It's not the
Yeah.
planning board. It's not your employee. And I don't know what to tell you. In your condition, you asked for a report.
Yep.
It's her job. She did it. I don't know.
If I may,
Yeah, go ahead, Rosemary.
through you, Bruce, to Jack, why were they told to cease and desist on putting in complaints? I don't understand
I don't
that.
remember what Mr. Ward, was it Mr. Ward who said that had to be? I don't recall his rationale behind
Not
that.
100% either. I think it was more suggested to do so for right now because he wanted to get to the bottom of why we
Right.
weren't being.
Maybe that was it. He wanted to talk to the town administrator. I know he has, Alana, her assistant, is on the Ag Commission. Maybe he wanted to talk to her. I honestly, Mr. Ward had nothing but the best intentions, whatever it was.
Oh, I understand,
And I just
understand
don't
that.
remember
I
exactly.
know Selectman Ward. No, I just didn't know why they were told to cease and desist with the complaints.
Well,
I
that might
just-
not be his words, but
So have you stopped, or
At this
is the
point,
cease
it's.
and desist still going on?
No,
or-
but I mean,
at
at
this
this point,
point-
we've been reaching out to her. It's clearly been more than 5 times and still get no response back. Not even a phone call to confirm what's going on. Like, there was no point. There's no point in making a complaint that it's not gonna be validated.
Okay.
Okay.
perhaps there might be other abutters here. I have no idea.
I think,
Do you have anything further to say, or?
Well, I guess we really want to understand if this is going to be approved for going forward. What is the actual process? Like, who is going to manage it? We did reach out to the town, was it the administrator's office? Did we reach out to them?
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
Is there an interim town administrator?
Yeah, but he's really interim. Like,
Okay,
he's
yeah.
down to
Well,
like
we had
2 hours
reached-
a week now.
Yeah, we had reached out to his office
Really?
as well, because at first it was supposed to fall to his office. He said, I don't want to get involved. Those were his words exactly.
It was.
I don't want to get involved and push it onto someone else. So our concern is that it's literally just going to go from one planning board to somebody else. Nobody wants to take the responsibility to make sure it's managed properly, and that's our concern.
Well,
That the daycare is managed properly, or that?
Or that all
the
of our-
Receiving the complaint calls are
Receiving
being
the complaints.
received properly, okay.
And then we also brought to the board's attention that she did have her daughter walking the dogs. I understand it wasn't a violation because she wasn't walking two dogs, but she had a child walking clients' dogs. That is a safety issue. She had her child walking a Great Dane, and it was not for a picture only, which is what she reported back to Jack. It was not a one-time instance. I work from home. I saw her on multiple occasions, her and her daughter leaving their home, the steps of their property, walk the entire length of the bogs and coming back, and each time her daughter had a dog. It was not a one-time instance. And that's a safety concern to me. What happens if one of those dogs gets out? They're not in that time frame. They were not penned in.
They were on leashes?
They're on leashes, but again, have you seen the size of a Great Dane? It's quite a big dog. For a child to be walking them, I don't think that's appropriate.
All right, well, we'll listen to other neighbors and then we'll discuss, I think at the end, what we can do, and the animal control officer might have some additional thoughts.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that is a neighbor that would like to speak? I know, animal control officer, did you have some additional comments to make?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have Mr. Microphone anymore. They took it away from me. I know. No personalities, Kathy.
I know. On the last complaint that came in, I called her because I was at a bog with a rabid coyote going after a kid on a motorcycle at the time. I called, I left a message. I went to her house. I walked through her house to the back, and I didn't see a dog. So I did respond to her phone call, and I did go out there, and then I went over and I talked to Ms. Billings. So I just wanted to let you know that I did respond to that call.
Now, do you ordinarily respond to all the calls, all the complaints?
Respond to all the calls. I do have, sometimes there's a dog hit that I have to scrape off the road that takes precedent over a dog barking. But I do go over there and I do talk to Stephanie, or if I can't get over there right away, I do call her on the phone.
How about, do you get back to the Dignans about
No.
this?
I'm not speaking to somebody who's recording phone calls.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. It's not in our purview.
Do you need any questions from the applicant?
I would like some, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, if we could have the applicant come up, please.
Hello,
Welcome.
Stephanie Billings, owner of Auntie Stephanie's Doggy Daycare on 67 Center Street.
Okay, I'm just gonna go through a couple things, just so that way we can be clear.
I have a couple things too, so.
Perfect. A couple of things. Number one, how's the business doing?
Great.
Okay.
I
How many?
brought some Carver clients. so.
Perfect. How many customers do you have at this stage of the game?
Right now, current, probably 16 or 17. I have some that have come and then they stopped coming because of financial things or whatever, their own issues. A couple that have evaled but didn't make it through, so they don't come, that kind of stuff. But
And,
currently 16 to 17.
and your record's up to date for the animal control officer and stuff like that, as she stated, correct?
Yes, I gave
And-
her everything. Yeah, everything that I have, she has.
Okay. So, we've had, a couple of complaints that I'm sure that you're aware of. Through the animal control officer has made her statements, the neighbor has made hers. So I'd like to hear, without personalities, your input, most in particular, the comment of, I guess your daughter walking the dog, I guess.
Okay, oh yeah, that's, over the summer. She's home
Okay.
from school. And she, not the Great Dane, not Max, he's too big, and
Yeah.
she'll even come up here and tell you. The little dogs, I would, like, wanna come with me? And she's like, yeah, and I was like, all right, you can have a little dog.
With you?
With me, she's always with me, like, she would
Okay.
always be with me. She was never doing it by herself, she was always right next to me.
Okay.
So if the dog ever was to, if she was ever to drop the leash, I am right there to grab it. So there was never, I never had to worry with
Okay.
her. I would worry about other kids, but not Lex. But yeah, she was with me through the whole summer. She didn't come every single time I went on a walk, but she did come on a few.
Okay.
But she never walked a Great Dane.
I just wanted to make sure that she just wasn't out by herself. I understand if it was your own dogs, it's your own thing, but customers' dogs, that was important.
No, and I totally, I understand that. And she did, I have a picture of her up on a hill with the Gemma, who's Gemma's mother's right there. She's a brown pit bull, and she's a sweetheart, and Lex had some friends over, and she wanted to take a picture with the dog up on the big sand hill that we have, and I don't let her go. And so I took the picture, and then they came right back down and gave me Gemma. So that, and I talked to Jack about that, and I said, all right, that won't happen again, but I trust Lex, and I trusted Gemma to not take off on her, or, because she had the leash, so.
Okay.
Maybe I could make a suggestion?
Please.
Maybe when this is happening, they should take pictures.
I actually,
They did.
Through Jack Hunter, I just
Yeah,
want to say we have
we
three
did
They did?
email a picture of
pictures
Jack
to
with
Jack.
her daughter with the Great Dane, and he
Okay.
passed that.
by herself.
By herself?
Okay,
All right, just,
yeah,
Okay.
we're not gonna get in that road.
they
so.
did, for Mrs. Hanlon, they did email me that. I gave that both to the town administrator's office and to Stephanie, and she said exactly what she just said now.
That wasn't a Great Dane, though, that was Gemma.
I don't know.
A Great Dane's big, Gemma's brown. Small. But I wanted to touch base on the barking complaints, because Kathy she calls me on the phone. And I've actually called her a couple times when I'm walking the dogs and I have the dogs at the house inside, safely secured and away. I've heard dogs barking. And so I just, in my own mind, took a little sketch of where everybody is. And through the summer, right across, if we're on Center Street, then there's Pond Street, and on Pond Street there's a greenhouse with a star on it, and then there's a blue house that's kind of tucked back. Directly across the street from my house, there's up on the hill on Old Center Street, but it's right through the trees. There's a little dog that barks at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then there's that husky that's towards the left that has gotten out a couple times. There's a golden retriever that I've seen walking around, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's up on the hill. And then there's another little dog that has gotten out before that I've seen. None of which are my dogs. But the house, there's my house, the Dignan's house, the McAllister's house. The house next to the McAllister's house has little dogs that bark. The house at the very corner, the one that's colonial, they have 2 brown dogs that I've seen her walking on the bogs. The blue house that has dogs barking, she has 2 pit bulls. I see her walking all the time on the bogs, and then the 2 schnauzers in that greenhouse. And so I just want, there's literally dogs all around, and they're barking at all different times of the day. It's not a constant, like, huge pain in the butt, but I hear them.
Do they get your dog started? when
No,
they're
because
barking?
it's one of those things that they don't even pay attention to it. Plus, I have the TV on and inside, so the noise is there. And then I have if their kids are outside, I'll have the radio on, so that way the background noise of the radio overdoes the kids, so that way the dogs don't hear them and be like, oh, and then want to see what's going on. But for the most part, the only time I've had a dog bark is Max. When my husband comes home from work unexpected and everybody's outside, he sees him and barks his head off, but I bring him in right away. It's not more than a minute or so, maybe even less than that. And
That's your dog.
no, Max is the Great Dane that comes. He has a big, deep bark. You'd know it if you heard it. But he only barks if he sees Jim. He's a sweetheart. He doesn't really do much other than that. And I had a dog, Mowgli, that came on a Monday, and it was still when it was warm out, and I had the air conditioning still in the window. And so I think that because you had the little like slits on the side, I had him in the room thinking, because he was new, he was going to be nervous. And I know that he barked because Kathy called me that day and said, "You have a dog barking?" And I said, "Oh, I have a new dog. All right, I'll go back to the house." So I went back to the house. He was barking, and I ended up giving him a Kong with cookies, changing where he was, and then I didn't have a problem with him, but he doesn't come anymore anyway. So every time somebody was barking that I knew about, I took care of it. So.
Okay.
I'd like to see a copy of that picture that she has.
And she just said for the record that Max was a Great Dane. This is the child walking Max. She just said.
Can I see that too, please?
Of course. Just hold on.
Now, in our conditions, did we say who was walking the dogs, or how many people? We didn't condition that.
No.
You said no more than two, I believe.
Yeah, that was
No
just
more
no more than
One
two.
a week, yeah.
What's the name of that dog, Stephanie?
I don't know. I haven't seen the picture yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't recall, probably. I thought there was one, no, I don't remember this one, but there was one with 3 kids, I thought.
Okay. Is that out on the sandbox?
That is out on the sand.
Okay.
Oh, taking a picture. She wasn't walking him. She was just holding him so I could take a picture.
But what is the name of that dog?
That's Max. That's him.
A Great Dane.
Yeah, he's a big mush. But he
But
was.
it's a Great Dane?
Yeah, he's a Great Dane. Yeah, he's a big mush. But yeah, she wasn't walking him. She was holding him for a picture. So, I didn't really see anything different about that. He wasn't going
Was that
anywhere.
in your backyard or in the?
No, that was on the bog. That was on the other bog. So if you walk out my back door and you go down and then you take a left at the very end, it's around the corner and then in the middle of the 2 bogs that are connected on the other side. Which is I walk around that big, huge one, and then I do a double here, and then I go around. It's 2 miles each time.
All right,
Have you been, through you, Mr. Chair, have
Yeah.
you been contacted by Mr. Ward or anybody from the Selectman's office?
No.
And the purpose that we're here tonight, Jack, is to,
Well, if you read your condition, like I said, it's to review.
I did read them, but I need to
Progress.
read them again.
And again, I'm gonna suggest you know, you got 3 decisions. You think, keep the conditions way they are, amend the conditions, or consider rescinding the permit.
Could we take this under advisement and get back?
Yes, you could table this till the next meeting, but it would have to be at a public meeting, if that's what you're asking, yes.
That's what I'm asking.
And if you need any more information from Stephanie or the Degmans or the ACO or me or whatever, I'd like to know so I can have that prepared for you at your next meeting.
And also too, I have an Auntie Steph's Facebook page, so I take pictures every day of all the dogs when they're playing, when we're walking, and I put them up on Facebook so the parents can see their dogs and what they're doing during the day. So every single picture that she might be able to catch from there is taken from the Facebook page. So it's not like I'm hiding anything. Didn't think anything of Lex coming with me walking the dogs or anything. So just so if you ever wanted to look at the page, you could. It's all there.
I know Mr. Chair, I know in our conditions, there was, discussion of a fence.
Yeah, they had a
That's
certain amount of
2 years.
time.
I think it was 2 years. Didn't know where you were with that.
2 years.
For the barricaded
6 foot,
fence.
The stockade fence.
The
Yeah, that
stockade
went in
fence
between the
between-
two properties.
You got a year.
Yeah, we're like next summer, because I
Okay.
just started, the business just started like
Yep.
doing pretty good, and we're actually,
Okay.
been able to pay the bill back. I wanted to add to on, the list of dogs that somebody wrote down for me, on Tuesday, I have Daisy too on Tuesday, so I actually have 7 dogs on Tuesday, and 7 on Friday.
Yeah, it's still within her.
Yeah, I just didn't wanna make sure everybody knew that. And then dogs, they change too, like today I didn't have Sherpa and Yeti, so it goes back and forth, so. But I'll keep all my records up to date with Kathy, so that way you guys know.
So,
So we have to decide whether, well, we haven't, what happened with Dick Ward and this
Well,
other
that's what
person?
I'd
Have
like to
they,
find out,
did they
yes.
have any additional information or thoughts?
I can ask Mr. Ward. if
That's
you
why I wanted to table
can-
it, and I wanted to talk to Mr.
You
Ward.
know, if I may, Mr. Ward was doing this, I asked him to do it.
Just as a favor, yeah.
He is a selectman, but I did ask him because I trust him and I know he's do the right thing. And I don't know how he followed up, except I did know he went to visit the Degmans here. Either you told me or he told me, somebody told me, maybe Eric told me, I can't remember who told me. But I haven't talked to him since about it, and I know he did talk to the town administrator's office, but that's all I know.
well, I'm struggling with where we're in violation of any of the conditions. We've heard from the animal control officers, gave her report of how she's proceeding. I agree with some of the animal control officers' processes. She answers to the Board of Selectmen and to the town administrator. Unfortunately, the town administrator is an interim town administrator because we've had 5 or 6 people leave.
I think it's up to 7 now.
We've had quite a few big turnover in town hall. And unfortunate or fortunate enough, that's good and bad. Where the interim town administrator is limited in his time here, I understand where he might tell you that he doesn't want to get involved, and it still falls on the selectmen's back per se. I don't know if we have the ability to step on their toes on that. Talking with the report from the animal control officers, seems like from her interpretation that she's addressed a lot of the concerns, or at least attempted to. I don't know where to go from here. I don't see any violation of what we've set for the conditions.
I just don't feel comfortable at this time.
Yeah,
I'd
that's-
like to.
I'm just laying it out there so that way it
Right.
might spurt somebody's thought process. Or what I'm thinking, I can't find any reason why we'd have to make a move to either revise the conditions or or revoke the permit. I don't see that we're missing a step where it comes to this board. As far as the town administrator's responsibilities and the animal control officers, they're implementing the operation of the business. I don't think that's
Would,
us.
if I could ask the Dagnans through you, do you feel that they're in violation of any of these conditions that we put forward?
I mean, I've never seen a trash pickup facility there. They're supposed to come twice a week. I've never seen that done. Never seen a trash can actually move from outside their property. And I mean,
I'd just like to clarify that too, same thing, who can actually walk the dog and who's not.
That's important.
Well, yeah, that's,
That is a public safety issue.
That definitely is
be
a public
addressed.
safety issue.
And I did talk to Jack about that, and I said Lex wouldn't walk the dogs with me after when I took the picture of Gemma, and Michelle sent an email to Jack, and he talked to me about it. So I kind of already said I wouldn't do that again.
all right. If we could just, yeah, I think Rosemary was on the right path by asking you what would make you feel more comfortable? I can't see that there's any of our conditions have been violated, but I can see some of your concerns. Is there something that we can work out here? Like her daughter maybe not walking the larger dog?
Or perhaps maybe you can tell her or tell us, when is the pickup due, so she can
We actually
witness the pickup?
we actually go to the dump. My husband brings it.
but that's not what the condition report says. The condition report says that you're supposed to come pick up to their home.
So what have you, so you haven't been getting a dumpster as was in the conditions?
Yeah, because it's not even
You-
a fourth of a bag. But so we go to the dump. My husband goes to the dump, Friday or Saturday. And if it's Friday, it's usually later Friday, and he'll go before it closes.
And I get that, but that wasn't the condition.
Right, I
The
didn't,
con- the
well,
condition
it started out
to
where it
have
was, we
trash
didn't have,
pickup.
it started out with, I had said, I don't have the money to have them come yet, so we were gonna do that, but I mean, I can call them tomorrow.
And I
That's fine.
understand that, but this conflict has been going on since day one. We've had this conflict, and all due respect to everybody, I can see why maybe they're upset, because they have these conditions and you are not following these conditions. And that would probably make me upset also. And that's really why I wanna table it, because I wanna talk to Dick Ward. I really wanna go through this again. I mean, I did read it. And I just don't really think that they would constantly be here if they constantly didn't have an issue. And I really, for the sake of everybody here in the town, to really get it resolved. Because it's just ongoing all the time. And you can't say you're gonna do one thing and we put it in a condition and then don't do it, Steph.
Right, well, and I originally put that condition, I actually put that condition in there about the trash pickup, because I thought it would be a lot more. And they were worried about the smell, and there isn't any smell, because like when the dogs go to the bathroom, I'm picking it up and I'm putting it in the barrel with the trash bag, and then we bring it to the dump, and it really was like a money issue at that point, which is the only reason why I didn't have that done yet. But we are making money now, so I probably won't, it's definitely not necessary for twice a week, because I think it says it in there for twice a week, and it is not necessary for twice.
What I would like them to actually write a list for this planning board to actually say what they feel that you're in violation of. So we can address every one of them and really try to get it resolved.
Do you have a long list of things, or is it just a few things that we can discuss tonight?
No, just some of this, I don't think it's that long of it too, but I mean, as a neighbor too, I feel like sometimes I'm spying on her or stuff like that, which I don't wanna do.
I understand.
But they brought up this point, and I believe Kevin brought up the last time we had the hearing of, it's tough also to distinguish between whether or not it's a client on the weekend or if it's a friend on the weekend. And I know it's tough to run a business, but also when you've got dogs there on the weekends, as a butter or whatever, I also think it's a client. So it's tough to
understand.
But, you know, it's also now a business, so how, where, like, where do you draw that line of being like, well, that's a client, or that's a friend, and stuff like that, so it's tough, again, as a resident of Carver, of trying to figure out, you know.
But that wasn't a condition.
It's
Either,
not a condition,
yeah.
it's, you know, they're not allowed to have them overnight or over, you know, the weekend, on the weekends and stuff, but again, you know, if you see dogs there on the weekend, you know, you immediately go,
If it's the same dog that was there
Yeah,
for
sure.
Monday through Friday, how come on the Saturday and Sunday it's now a pet, and how come Monday through Friday it's a client? That's a gray area, and I think it gets hard to distinguish between.
Yes, it can be very difficult to distinguish.
I know we had talked about this before, and we were hoping that you might
And I haven't had any,
limit some of the.
yeah, I haven't had any. My father hasn't even come over for me to cut his dog's nails, because I used to cut my father's dog's nails all the time, and he hasn't even done that, so, and that's been since the last time.
Okay. So you wanna hold off and get some more? info?
I would like to do that.
Can I make a suggestion, if you're gonna table it? If the Degmans could get me their list. Now, understand, the planning board can only deal with these conditions. It can't deal with any lack of response time by the ACO. That's a town administrator selectman issue.
Yeah.
Or rudeness, or all that junk. But if you have concerns about any of these conditions, or would like other conditions, if you could give me those by Thursday, is that possible? Then I can give them to Stephanie, I can give them to Kathy, and to you.
Now, can they change some of their conditions? I mean, like if they don't need a dumpster on the property,
You can,
well, can they bring that to the board and say, we
yeah,
might like
and
to change?
you can do the same.
this?
If you want some modifications, absolutely, you're absolutely right, that would make more than. If we get too wacky here with conditions, I'm gonna tell you, and then you might have to do a public hearing.
Right.
If they're reasonable and not beyond the call of duty, for the lack of a better word,
Okay.
then I think you'll be okay.
Oh,
If
and
that's the direction you're going.
Sorry. I just so also to no dog that I have been taking care of, no client dog or even anything has gotten out or loose or anything like that. So I want you to, I know that she had called the animal control officer and said that there was a dog loose in her backyard. It was a brown dog, and it looked like the dog that was on my website. That would be Gemma, and because she was brown, so she went with a brown dog. Never once has one of the dogs gotten out, nor will they, nor anything. I'm right there. I'm there all day, every day, Monday through Friday, 6 to 6.
How many dogs do you personally own again?
3. Right now I have 3.
So there would only ever be 3 dogs there at any time that you weren't running the business?
Correct. Like, so on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and at nighttime, my dogs.
Is there any chance that someone speaking on her behalf would end this today? Or is it automatically one person is gonna be able to make this continue on? Like, there are other neighbors. Has there ever been any complaints with the other neighbors?
Not to me.
Well, if it
Kathy?
went into a public notice, they would be notified. So in the area, wouldn't they be notified if it was?
If you had a hearing, I did notify all the abutters by letter.
But not for this meeting?
Yes,
You did?
absolutely.
And no one else had enough problem to show up?
I've never had a complaint from any other abutter, nor have you, Kathy? No.
But you've been to our home, and we share a backyard, so
Yeah,
we're
I know.
literally small bit to our home.
Okay.
All right,
Is-
that's good for the selectman's office, not here.
The abutters go by just direct property abutters, or does it go by a distance of a radius?
It's abutters and abutters to abutters.
Abutters and abutters to abutters. All right. So it
So
goes
twofold.
like, it goes
That's the
2
law.
properties over. Okay.
I don't make this stuff up.
I actually have a question for
Huh?
Kathy. If I can have you answer a question for me.
You have
have-
to go through the chairman.
Oh, go through the chairman. Can I?
Yep, ask the chairman.
I was wondering if Michelle had ever called and complained, or Matt have ever called and complained about other dogs barking that are surrounding us? Or is it just calling to complain about Auntie Steph's?
in all fairness to everybody, they probably don't even know that they're other dogs. They're probably just assuming that they're your dogs.
Well, that's what I,
After that,
well,
I've
that's,
actually called on a couple of the dogs, like the husky trust away that's gotten out a couple of times, I've actually called. And a couple of the two houses down I've actually called, so.
And you called the animal
The
control?
animal control, but again,
Did she
was out.
respond?
It was off hours, so I had to call the police department, and the police department actually did send a cruiser, and the cruiser helped the owner to try to
Okay.
get the dog back in, so.
The husky.
Yes, I have called.
Personnel.
So
Excuse
we're
me?
just gonna continue this to the next meeting?
I will talk to Mr. Ward, and I guess Mrs. Hanlon will too. We'll get suggestions from both parties here, and maybe I'll maybe work with the chairman on something for the 19th. You're gonna have a busy night, the 19th.
It's okay.
Be prepared. Still within a month, by the way.
Okay,
All right.
You'll need to vote to continue this.
is this a?
It's not a hearing,
So,
the matter. Continue the matter, I guess. The agenda item.
Okay, so there's no vote for this because it was just a,
I think it'd be vote to continue it. It's not a hearing, but continue the matter
okay.
till the 19th.
motion to continue the, annual review for Aunt Stephanie's doggy daycare to the November 19th at
7:30.
7:30.
Second.
Never becomes 7:30, but yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll come by.
All right, let's go on. Other business, planning board notes. Anybody have anything they'd like to say tonight?
I'm gonna hold my peace. You're welcome.
We'll go on to planners notes.
I got a couple things. I've been working with Serped about, as you know, a couple meetings ago, I talked to you guys about the building study committee and how they were looking for a master plan revision. And I think it was actually Bruce who suggested I talk to Serped about giving me a quote on what a master plan would take. And you'll see in your packet, this is a draft, and it looks like it's gonna cost, if we use some of the suggestions on the bottom, about $65,000 for them. Plus, I would like another 10 to do the outreach with Dr. Mullen, so it's about $75,000 to do a master plan. Complete, comprehensive, nuts to bolts, millions of public meetings, documents, subcommittees, the whole kit and caboodle. Now, I'm gonna work on these numbers a little bit more, but I'm gonna be probably recommending in February that you put this on the warrant. This is what the building committee wanted, the selectmen were in favor of it.
Okay.
And see if we can get those monies and start that process. It will be a long, arduous process, well, I'll need all 5 of you to help. That's number 1. Number 2. This is a photo, and this is for those who could not make the site visit with Wrightington Gas. Now, you're gonna have a minor modification meeting with them on the 19th. For Mrs. Hanlon, she was concerned about whether you could see the storage shed from the street. And if you can see, Will took a picture and you can't. It's completely,
Thank you, Will.
it's impossible. And that's for Chad and Rosemary, they weren't there. I thought it was a great location, there's nothing there, and it was cold.
It was cool.
Lastly, you'll see Carver Gas Convenience Store. They have submitted, we did not get them on the agenda, and I have a question for you. Are you gonna want them to come back in? You tabled this. This is not, you did not vote on this, for Carver Gas. This is the one that wants to go on Tremont, the one sign, they have given me the sign, but they have not given me the location. He told me verbally it's gonna go in the island next to the little red smokehouse. But I told him I needed a little map. I could do the map. Do you want them to come in, or should I put them on the agenda and I present it? What do you want for next, on the 19th? We have a communication issue. I called him on Tuesday, left him a message. Kathy called him on Thursday. We didn't put it on the agenda because we didn't hear from him. And then on Friday afternoon, he called, panicky. I did talk to him several times, and this is what I got, but he's not on the agenda, so I just need some direction on what you want for the 19th.
Let him come in.
Let him come in, okay. That's all.
If they don't, I suppose you could present it and we could just get this thing.
Yep.
They've already indicated where they're gonna put it, and we've.
He
and they've said,
verbally-
This is the sign here,
Yep.
right?
There's only one sign. Okay.
All right. Where are we here? Approval of minutes of October 15th, 2013.
Make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
We have a motion to approve in a second. Those in favor? And I must say, those notes were just unbelievable, and even have notes at the end of all the paperwork that people submitted to everybody. That was terrific.
Wow.
Outstanding job, Ken.
Yeah. I've never seen notes like that before, since I've been here anyway.
Wow.
And that's an eye for me, too. All right. Now, correspondence.
Only one thing, I got a nice little letter from the Crystal Lake Community Garden, thanking me for helping them. They, the trees are now gone, the stumps are not yet. Newcomb's and the Redevelopment Authority funded that, but they'll be gone soon. We put in a CPA application for just, to get non-potable water there, to get a pump, electric pump in there, and fencing, and the wood, and the shed they need. So you're definitely gonna see a community garden there in the spring. It's just, they couldn't make it this year, but they're working hard, and I really like working with that group. That group has done other things for that neighborhood. There's a new drainage system now on Crystal Lake Drive. They've helped with the housing group, identifying houses. They're all different ways that they're helping their neighborhood, so it's a lot bigger than a community garden. That's all.
All right, next is, thank you, Jack. Next is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you and good night.
Excuse me.
Tell me when.